Morning, 8th grade. We're continuing our read of The Greatest Treasure Hunt in History, historical read, one that I really did not understand or really know about. And it's fascinating, true story of men who risked their lives to save cultural treasures and artifacts and historic buildings in the midst of World War II and the invasion of Germany throughout Europe. So we are beginning at the bottom of page 93 in Florence, Italy. Florence, Italy, September to October 1944. Fred Hart scrolled another piece of paper into his typewriter to complete his initial damage assessment report on Florence. Michelangelo's towering achievement, the sculpture David, had come through the battle unscathed, but the images of other cultural treasures far less fortunate paraded across his mind, leaving him feeling like a grief-stricken family member, identifying a deceased loved one. The sweltering heat of August had not helped his mood. Having addressed the destruction of 5 of the city's 6 bridges and made mention of the one that had survived, the Ponte Vecchio, another thought came to mind. The destruction may not have held up the war in Italy 5 minutes, he typed, but it paralyzed the city. This has been the heart of Dante's Florence. These were the streets and squares scarcely altered since Giotto and Masaccio walked them. Now everything Hart saw, houses, towers, palaces, with all they contained and with all their glorious memories, lay collapsed in mountainous heaps of rubble. Flipping the pages of his field journal, the name of a church that he'd inspected caught his eye. It didn't have the importance of the city's Duomo or the beauty of Santa Maria Novella, but something notable had taken place there that Hart wanted to add to his typed report. Santo Stefano is gravely damaged. The 13th century facade is split from top to portal. The roof tiles are gone and the interior full of rubble. The 93-year-old parish priest, Padre Vinciani, refused to leave his church and died from the concussion of the mines. His body was removed only 18 August from the sacristy where it had lain since 3rd August. The death of the parish priest put a face to his mission, but more than that, it reminded him of something Dean Keller had said several months earlier. Hart couldn't remember Keller's exact words, but the point of his remark was this: being a monuments man required balancing the dramatic with the mundane. Saving works of art or building was important, but so were the essential task of securing supplies and writing reports. Despite the focus on things, the job existed to help people. By early September, with 5th and 8th Army's long-awaited assault on the Gothic line underway, Hart resumed his inspections of the other repositories on the list provided by Florentine art officials Paghi and Procacci. Shifting battle lines still prevented access to some of the villas used to store art, but on September 5th, Hart and his driver were able to reach a royal villa in the small town of Poggio Asciano. Days earlier, the Allies had received a bizarre telegram from Swiss officials conveying a German request that Allied forces not bomb Poggio Asciano because of the art treasures being stored there. The message explicitly stated that there were no German troops in that particular area. Something didn't add up, Hart thought. Was it a trick of some kind? Had German forces laid booby traps throughout the villa, expecting the Allies to rush to the scene? Without a first-hand inspection, it remained a mystery. Gaining access to Poggio Asciano was not easy. The destruction of a key bridge forced Hart and his driver, Ruggieri, to take a back route, then wade across a canal before inching up a steep embankment. Hart wanted to laugh at how goofy they must have looked, crawling hand over foot like two children, mimicking monkeys, but he was too winded to spare the extra breath. They emerged from the gully to be greeted as liberators by villagers excited to see their first Allied officer. Hart found the custodian and wasted no time in getting to the bottom of what had taken place. Had German soldiers been here? Did they take any of the works of art that had been stored in the villa? The custodian, although nervous, seemed relieved for a chance to share what he'd seen with somebody of authority. A Major Reidemeister, a representative of the Kunstschutz, the German art protection unit, had arrived toward the end of August, the custodian explained. He had with him trucks, men, and an order to remove certain items. Determined to prevent the removals, the custodian had informed the German major that the villa and its contents were under the protection of the Holy See in Rome, and that General Field Marshal Kesselring, the senior German military commander in Italy, had also issued a protective order for the works of art. Hart, increasingly anxious, pressed again. The details were important, but what he wanted was a yes or no to his question. Did the Germans take any of the works of art that had been stored in the villa? Yes, the custodian replied. Overwhelmed by anger and impatience, Hart barked more than asked. What precisely did the Germans take? Flustered, the custodian sputtered. Bargello Museum. Hart wanted to cry out in pain. The Bargello housed the most important collection of Gothic and Renaissance sculpture in the world, including masterpieces by Michelangelo and Donatello that had, over centuries, come to define the city. The dates of the theft corresponded precisely to the German government's message to Swiss officials. Clearly, the request for the Allies to avoid bombing Poggio a Siano was a feint to buy time for German troops to empty the villa. Speechless at the involvement of German government officials and the deceptiveness of the theft, Hart immediately wrote Ernest de Waal, director of the MFA in Italy. Dear Ernest, this is what they stole. I retained the original handwritten document which the custode made out. They started stealing the stuff 2 days before they broadcast to us not to bomb it. God knows where it is now. If I were you, I would call in the correspondence and make a big story out of this. Maybe they will save other stuff. Maybe that will save other stuff from being stolen. In early October, with the inspections of all but one of the 38 Tuscan repositories now complete, Hart gathered his interview notes and field journal to write a summary report of his findings. The thieves had acted on specific orders from the German military commander of Florence, Colonel Metzner, and Staff Sergeant Colonel Alexander Langsdorff, recently appointed head of the Kunstschutz operation in Italy. General Karl Wolff, the SS commander for all of Italy, had issued orders that provided Langsdorff with the trucks and gasoline that he needed for the operation. Each theft involved either subterfuge or threat. At least one, the looting of Palazzo Pretorio in the town of Poppi, took place at gunpoint. Typing what had been stolen left Hart feeling like a father listing the names of his missing children. There were masterpieces by foreign artists acquired by the Medicis hundreds of years earlier. The pioneering Dutch and Flemish painters Rembrandt and Rubens, German masters Dürer and Grenache, and the greatest Spanish painter to ever hold a paintbrush, Diego Velázquez. The Italian artists that Hart had long studied and dearly loved followed, including Michelangelo, Raphael, Caravaggio, Titian, Botticelli, and Donatello. Looking over the list of missing masterpieces, Hart felt sick to his stomach, like he had 6 months earlier when he realized the peril to Leonardo da Vinci's bomb-damaged masterpiece, The Last Supper. But as he quieted his emotions, he started thinking. About what the Germans could have stolen but didn't. 2 of Leonardo's paintings, The Annunciation and The Adoration of the Magi, had been left behind with Michelangelo's Donna Madonna. One of only 4 known paintings by the Florentine master, and certainly his most important. While there was no masking the loss to Florence and to all those who loved art, Plenty of masterpieces had survived the German looting operation and were now safe. Hart tallied what the German had stolen and then resumed typing. A grand total of 529 paintings, 162 works of sculpture and minor arts, 6 large cartoon drawings, and 38 pieces of medieval and Renaissance textiles have been taken from the public collections in Florence. In all, 735 objects. He stumbled for a few minutes, trying to find the right words, and then they came to him. Florence had suffered a robbery on a scale to dwarf the depredations of Napoleon. Writing reports wasn't going to get the Florence treasures back home, though. Waiting for something to happen wasn't an acceptable alternative either, not for a restless art historian. Determined to act, Hart ran down his list of the most influential people in Florence. One name came to mind, the Archbishop of Florence, Cardinal Elia dalla Costa. Perhaps he would be willing to use his extensive connections with the Vatican to make inquiries about the whereabouts of the stolen masterpieces. We're going to stop there, and tomorrow we'll begin on page 103, Searching for Clues, moving from Italy to Germany in 1944. Thank you so much, 8th grade students, and thank you for listening and reading. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.